Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of SafeDefend Live. We got the double dose. We got the founder of SafeDefend with us today, Jeff. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks, man. I think everybody's waiting to hear from Craig.
Well, then we have the new superstar, everybody's favorite guy.
Phil, I read that if you use a downward angle, then it makes you look skinnier or something along those lines. So I don't know if I can hold my computer at this level the whole time. So I guess I'll still try it from here. But
mine's hanging 50 feet from a ceiling right now, and I still look like this. Yeah, it's a problem. It's a real problem. Mm-hmm. So, no, hey, welcome, guys. Appreciate y'all. I think one of the things that we've been talking about is there's a lot of as we're out there talking to schools, talking to businesses. There's a lot of different kinds of companies popping up these days. Is that a safe way of saying it? I think there's a lot of people that are trying to jump into space. So tell me about some of your experiences with that, guys.
Well, I mean, we just saw yesterday the news report coming through Omaha where an individual with a private security company sold to a business the fact that he could come in and test their active shooter readiness by pretending to be an active shooter and not letting anybody know inside the building. There's so many problems with that honestly, it hurts my head thinking about this. But the fact that somebody thought that was a good idea, the fact that an individual thought walking in with he was shooting sim rounds in the building, from what I understand.
Jeez.
Very lucky that he didn't get killed, as well as people in there. The stress, somebody didn't get hurt. There are a lot of things popping up. We're seeing more and more just somebody trying to throw devices together in the garage and try to sell them to schools. We're seeing a little bit of everything, and unfortunately, you're getting people trying to take advantage of the current climate, the current fear level, the mental health crisis that we're facing in this country. SafeDefend has been around almost 10 years. We're not doing this because we see a quick opportunity. We're doing this because we know we can make a difference long term. So it's just getting the word out to really make sure people are vetting what they're looking at and trying to get sold. And we've really got to be smart about what makes sense training wise. You've got to go with a reliable company that's got a history of providing effective and meaningful training, not just jumping in and going with somebody just because they're promising you something. You've got to vet the companies that are out there. It's scary. Someone's going to get hurt.
Well, I know yesterday when you shared an article on the private company that allowed that to happen, first thing I said to Jeff, Craig, was, well, lucky you didn't do it in the state I live in, because everybody down here concealed carries. And I'm not trying to be funny. I mean, it could have been horribly tragic.
An officer shows up, that guy's dead.
That guy's dead. Guy is dead. Forget about. I mean, that's the real horrible stuff. I think what that organization is going to be facing is some real potential litigation from the people inside that building. I mean, because I don't even know. I mean, I can't get my arms around that. I can't wrap my head around how anybody would sign off and say, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So, but to this point though, right? And Craig, I would like to say, hey, if somebody, because there's a lot of money being thrown right now to try to come up with problems, to solve this problem, right? And so where there's a lot of government money being thrown, that means there's a lot of people that are jumping in the space trying to capitalize on this money that's out there. I mean, that's what we're seeing, right? I think if it's a company that hasn't been around at least 5, 6, 7 years, I would just have a hard time even considering what they're bringing. I mean, that's just me personally, because you don't know. I mean, you just don't know what you're getting.
I kind of shared with you last time, Phil, that SRO in our building, our safety officer, said that he would engage the shooter. And that made me feel great. But then I noticed that something bad happened in the school, and it took him forever to figure out where to go in the school to, find what was going on. And I thought there's got to be a better way. So when I retired just a couple months ago, I actually vetted a lot of these places using Google and everything else. And it was so apparent how many of them had just popped up since Uvalde. And so obviously there's a quick buck to be made there. And of all the things you don't want to mess with, as far as a quick buck goes, it's a system like this. Right. You might save a few dollars, but you might end up costing yourself lives. But as I was vetting these companies and Googling them and doing all these things, one of the things I came across, and it ended up being a different company from ours, clearly, was they were using Bluetooth. And I just thought, my God, when I work out, my Bluetooth cuts out 5 times during my awesome Footloose dance. I just don't even understand. I mean, if it's cutting out during that, what's going to happen in a school building or something along those lines? And you guys, you can tell me or ask later to see my Footloose dance. But
I've seen it. It's on the web.
All right.
It's on the web. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now. So then I Googled how hard is it to disable Bluetooth or even Wi-Fi, and a schmuck like me for about $10 can do it. Yeah. And so, of course, some distraught kid is going to be on the dark web. You don't even have to be on the dark web for that.
No,
you don't. And he's going to be ahead of that game. And man, I'm really passionate about this stuff. Those are my kids in the building. Those are my students from last year. Now, damn it, we need to have a system that works every single time. Every time. It needs to be hardwired.
Yeah, and I think that for me, that's what really comes down to, right? I think most people are doing a good job of vetting, but if there's even one that gets in that doesn't, that's a real problem. It's because we see all the systems, right? You see everything from lanyards to, to apps to, they've got I think there's people out there that have those that are well-intended. I think there's a lot of people and I'm not suggesting, I don't think anybody is, that the people that are jumping in, I don't know any way of knowing this. I hope nobody that's jumping into the space is doing it purely for a money grab and knows that their system doesn't work.
Right.
I hope that's the case, because we are talking about human lives. I mean, we're not talking about buying a cheaper paint to save a few bucks to paint the gym. We're not talking about, we're just not. I mean, we're talking about decisions that literally is the difference between people living and dying. And so I hope that people are really vetting and taking this.
Well, keep in mind that, those 3 critical areas need to be addressed. Getting law enforcement there much more quickly, being able to address the fact that the bad guy's already inside the building, and 2, giving the staff the ability to manage this crisis, stay alive till help arrives, keep their kids alive, manage this crisis. There's not a simple solution. If there was, none of us would be in business.
Right.
And, to get to where we're at has taken years of development, of effort, money, time. There is no simple solution to address those 3 critical areas, which are what costs us lives. And, somebody that has just jumped into this game, I mean, there's no other way to say it. It can be trusted to be effective at this point.
To your point, Jeff, yesterday, me and you were part of a Zoom meeting yesterday afternoon talking about this type of stuff. And this is after almost 10 years of doing this,
right?
Constantly looking to make things better, to make things more effective, to make things more efficient, it's an ever, because it changes. But what doesn't change is you got to be hard. I'm just telling you, if you're not hardwired, I'm sorry.
Well, that's
you're
just
susceptible to problems.
You're at risk.
You're at risk.
I was watching the Chiefs game the other day with a buddy who's a fireman, and I said, "Hey, what do you think of that school that just got an app for their fire bells, for their emergency system?" And he looked at me and goes, "You better be lying." And I go, "Yeah, I'm lying. I go, but can you imagine having an app for an active shooter? And that man at Don, he's like, well, that's ridiculous. It has to be hardwired to your
Right.
to both of your points.
Right.
So
I mean,
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It seems pretty apparent to the people that care the most.
Well, and I think too, you see, you guys know, my wife and I, we were founders of a public virtual school, and we no longer own that management company, but we were around education for a long time. My wife's a career educator, was teacher in traditional schools for years. And so we know a lot of folks that are administrators and, are and are teaching professionals. And I talk to them about, ironically enough, the guy I'm probably closest with is a guy that knows, that they think that they are taking the right steps. And I really do believe they think that. I think these are good people. But it's also, I think, one of those things that's out of sight, out of mind, or once you do a few things, I think it gives them a false sense of security that, well, we've done what we can do, and it's really not. Yeah. And that's what's frustrating, because I feel like, and we've said this, Uvalde, they didn't have our system. They knew of our system, though.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's fair to say that, to talk about that now, Jeff, don't you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And when you hear the principal who was suspended for a day or two and then brought right back, when you hear her interview, she says, well, I tried to use the app and we had bad connection and it didn't work. I mean, this isn't theory. This isn't us blowing smoke. It's the most recent horrific, active shooter where all these lives were lost. And it's the person that was responsible for the building said, I tried to use the app and the internet and it didn't work.
Right.
So this isn't smoke being blown. This is reality.
Well, you can't undo a tragedy.
Right.
No matter how much you wish you could go back in time, and not just for an active shooter, any event. So, one change would have made all the difference, but you can't undo it. So,
right.
This is a time for schools, and we're seeing this. We really are. Schools. I hate to use the word excited.
Right.
But they. One of the clients we just brought on, Findlay, Ohio, they did their convocation this week. They started school this week. When they announced to their teaching staff, who most of them knew and had heard that they were coming in, they literally applauded and cheered. And again, excited is not the right word, but staff are so supportive and hungry for an effective solution that's going to bring them peace of mind and give them the ability, God forbid, if they ever have to deal with something like this. We just saw another report, and I sent this out to everybody. The biggest issue in schools for parents right now is school safety.
Yep.
77. A recent survey went out. 77% of parents have flat out said, more than instructional programming, more than anything else that's educationally focused or related, 77% said the number one factor right now on my mind is school security. Safety of my kid in that building. And so we just, we're putting the word out to say, hey, look, if SafeDefend's not right for you, then find one that is, but vet them. When you're ready for SafeDefend, we are here. We're ready to go. We're adding clients, not quite daily, but close. We're busier than we've ever been because we're doing it right. And we're providing something that does actually make a difference. So it's number one on parents' mind. It's number one on teachers' minds. It is the number one issue in this country right now in education.
And please don't think, and I'm going to say this, please don't think that putting cameras up is going to help you. It'll help after the fact for the prosecution.
Training videos and prosecution. That's what you get from the cameras.
But it's sure not going to. So please don't think that. Don't get Don't buy into this. Do not buy into this. You've got to have a system that gives you the immediate notification and the tools to do the things you need to do until the good guys get there. I mean, so just please, if you're a decision maker, a school board member, the administrator, I know so many of these decisions are well intended. They're well intended, but please don't buy into that. I mean, that's not a solution. It's just not.
Well, Craig, Phil and I have kind of monopolized the conversation here quite a bit. Give us your thoughts and bring us home today, and then
wrap it up. I'm closer.
You're the closer today.
Well, shut her down, big boy.
I can tell you this: if I was a staff member in Findlay, Ohio, and administration got up on stage and showed us a safe filled with tools so that I could defend myself and defend my 30 kids, I would have been standing and applauding. That's all I asked for. That's all I've ever wanted. And for years, and don't get me wrong, where I work, they're very aggressive and they do a very good job. But I still didn't have anything to defend my personal territory.
To be able to manage that crisis. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And can I go ahead and announce next week we'll have Craig do his footloose dance?
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest.
Everybody cut. Yeah.
Oh boy!
You wait till you see that part.
There won't be a dry eye on Facebook at that moment.
Pleaser.
No, really, yeah.
Hey, can I be the? We all know you're Kevin Bacon. Can I be his buddy that didn't know how to dance, the cowboy?
That's interesting. If you would wear, you're from Oklahoma, so you probably do wear cowboy boots every now and then, right? You can kind of
just when I'm awake or asleep.
Just then, okay, all right. That sounds good. So Jeff, I guess you're that girl.
I'll be the third kid from the right in the hallway scene.
Okay.
Jeff's the ex-boyfriend, the scorned ex-boyfriend.
Oh, there you go. No, he's probably he's the mad pastor that
that's right. Yeah. He doesn't want any of us dancing. We can't dance.
No dancing. No dancing.
All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you both so much. Have a wonderful weekend. I know a lot of schools around the country. I know here where I live tonight, first night for Friday Night Lights, high school football. So
Kansas, not yet. I think they've got another week in Kansas.
I think you do. Yeah. I talked to a buddy whose kiddos play at Cape and Mount Carmel in Wichita, Kansas, and he said they have a scrimmage tonight, next week's live play. So I know Texas and Oklahoma. Oklahoma actually had their first game last night, 3-4 in 6A, and it was a blowout. Bixby gave Owasso a little bit of a football lesson last night, 49-14. But if you are going to go take in high school football, go have fun. Please be safe when you're out there doing that. We look forward to talking to you guys next week.
Have a great weekend.
All right, guys. Be blessed. Take care.
Take care.
All right, bye-bye.